I'm from Lithuania, and Eastern European families are quite different from what we're talking right now. So
Mm.
when I was growing up, I didn't have a dad, but I had a stepdad. So I never really saw my mum and my stepdad sitting down and having a conversation about what's happening, about the problems. There was always shouting and now you did this, now you did that, and it's all about. And it's not only my family. It was just it was very common in Eastern Europe, and I think overall the world is it's always pointing with your fingers and then blaming other people. But then as I was growing up and I got into a relationship myself, it was the same shit. I was with my girl, and then I did something and she wasn't happy, but I wasn't blaming myself. I was just blaming her. And I think once when I moved to the UK, I got into this hookup situationship, you could call it. So it lasted for like 3 months. But one lesson I took from that situationship was that if we had a problem, we never really well, she never really shouted. She always listened to me, and then she kind of taught me how to do it as well. So we always used to talk through the problem, and after we broke up, you could say, I think I took that from that situationship, because I was like, yeah, that's how I want to solve the problems, because we actually solved something. It wasn't, I'm not talking to you for the next 3 or 4 days, and then after 4 days you start to talk, but the problem isn't even solved. It's just buried on the ground. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really really interesting that people just avoid talking until it's too late, as you said with the sink analogy.
Yeah, it's being able to like sit down
Yeah,
and go through the problem open and honestly, and doing it in a way where it's not heated, it's not trying to get one over you or tell you
yeah,
that you're an arsehole or you've got to change this or I'm done. It's this is what we need to improve on
yeah,
together. How do we get through this together?
yeah,
Because I also feel that with relationships I've been in before, there's been a problem and it's been quite easy just to jump away from it and being like, okay,
yeah.
well maybe they're not the right person.
Exactly.
When
That's the one. Yeah.
when I think in relationships, actually, it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to have challenges, and you've both got to be prepared to do the work.
It's just how you solve it. Then,
And
right?
exactly. I mean, my grandparents were a really good example of that. They were married 70 years,
Oh wow.
and I asked them what made a great marriage, and my grandfather said it comes down to knowing and understanding yourself and getting out of your own way.
Mm.
And I thought that was a really interesting thing to say, because he made it sound as if you sometimes have to get out of your own your own ego in order to understand the other person.
Mm-hmm. Put yourself into their shoes, and then see how it looks like.
It's having this level of empathy,
Yeah,
and this level of understanding and wanting to benefit from it. It's kind of being curious. It's understanding yourself where you sit in relationships. I don't feel that because you may have had 3 or 4 or 5 relationships that's bad. I think with each relationship you understand inherently a part of yourself.
yeah.
And you always take that with you, and you'll always know sort of who you want to be with after that relationship. When I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, after we broke up, I knew what kind of relationship I wanted after that, and I knew what I deserved. And I thought that was a good thing. I thought that was, as much as painful as it was, that was the silver lining to it all, was that one day I'll be able to use that experience to only benefit what I want next. And that's what I learned from it, was having that communication is what I wanted and what I needed from a relationship going forward. Like you were saying, where you could actually sit down and break down the problem. That to me was so important.
Yeah.
Instead of just arguing for days and not solving anything, or calling out on bullshit or previous arguments, or who did that, who said what, you made me look this way, you're this, you're that. It's fundamentally sitting down and going, what do you want? What can I improve on? This is what I want. and just having the expectation all out there
Yeah.
and all on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it comes back to the emotional intelligence, is how good are you asking and receiving the feedback. And I guess it's very important because we mentioned a couple of times that you have to know yourself before you getting into a relationship. But what would you say are the main ways of getting to know yourself? Like, how would you start that journey of getting familiar with yourself? Well, you mentioned a couple of things that you used to take yourself on a date and
Yeah, knowing where I sit with that. Also, I mean, we're both such a big advocate for therapy. I far more understood.
yeah, that would be huge.
And then doing the research, I read books about it. Like Attachment being a really good book about relationships.
Okay.
There's this another really good book called Bad Men by David Buss. And there's this really good podcast out there. And there's so much information about it from men and women. And I think that's also fed into parts of my journey, as well as being in relationships and sort of seeing where I'm at. Like it allowed me to understand more about myself and how I feel about it, which is really important. But knowing yourself, I think, comes down to where are you at in life? Are you happy with where you're at? Do you feel that you're overcoming challenges within yourself that you feel like you're achieving? Like, how's your overall health? How's your work? Like, all of this that makes up you, your personality.
And where you're heading, I guess.
With me personally.
As in where you're heading.
Yeah.
That would be the fifth or
exactly. Yeah, for sure. Where am I now? Where am I going? Am I happy with that trajectory? What things do I like? Am I able to lean into the things that I like doing? Am I able to share that with the people that I love? Great.
One of the exercises my therapist told me to get to know myself a bit more. I mean, I felt like I know myself quite right, but then I had a hard time to accept the good things about myself. I was quite good at receiving criticism and changing things about what I think is best for me. But then when it came to good things, I was always like, it's not really important.
Yeah.
Which is really, really interesting because I never was able to give the credit where the credit is due. So one of the exercises my therapist asked me to do, because as I said, I had a hard time to believe in these good things, and I only believed in them when someone else told me about me and the good characteristics I've got. So I called my sister, and my therapist says, call your sister or your brother and ask about certain qualities about yourself. So I called my sister and I said, look sis, I'm doing this therapy thing, and I want to know myself a bit better. If you would have to describe me to your best friend, but your best friend doesn't know anything about me, how would you describe me? And it was really, really, really interesting because she told me so many good things about me, and I was like, that's really nice, thank you. But then she told me one bad thing as well. That she said, you're not responsible enough. So and I always knew that I'm lacking responsibility in certain things, and that actually hit me. And then afterwards, I took that criticism and I became a bit more responsible. I took more responsibility in my life, I guess. But that's where you build emotional intelligence, because you are able to accept criticism and you are able to accept the credit where the credit is due. So if someone tells you, Rupert, I think you're a very kind person, if he's honest enough, you have to accept it. And then alternatively, if he tells you, Rupert, you bad with time management, Well, you're good today, though. You're good today. So, you have to accept that as well, right?
For sure.
So it's all about being able to accept the feedback and just improve on it.
I totally agree, and it's managing that constructively and approaching it with a calm and level mindset.
Yeah,
When, like you're saying, people can take compliments,
yeah,
but it's accepting it where it's due.
exactly.
Like I
Exactly.
love that, and having this sort of emotional awareness of your own emotions in different situations, but like you were saying, where you can manage criticism effectively
Mm-hmm.
and actually take it on board and go, you're absolutely right. I
Yeah.
I know that deep down within myself that that's a problem, or
Mm-hmm.
that's something I want to work on.
Yeah.
That's having the intelligence to look at yourself in a way that's removing an ego, removing this need to protect, and actually going, I've got nothing to, I'm not perfect, no one is.
That's how we're getting better, I guess. Because
Slowly.
someone tells you what is wrong with you, so you're not trying to defend that bad um, area of your life. You're trying to get better, and
Of
that's how you
course.
get better, because someone just pointed at your bad behavior or whatever, and then that's how you improve on it.